Wait.
Now we are.
Are they gonna?
Ready? Okay, we're now. May we bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we say thank you for this awesome and beautiful day in Washington County. Thank you for the privilege of serving. Thank you for directing and guiding us. Lord, may we honor and please you in all that we do and say this day. May we serve the citizens of Washington County with earnest, with integrity, and with all our passion. Lead, guide, and direct us, I pray in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With that, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. And I think first this morning, we have a little bit of a change in our schedule. If it's okay with everyone, our discussion at, what time was that, John?
10:30.
10:30, I'm sorry.
10:35.
10:35 item, discussion of EMS, staffing transition. We're going to postpone probably to a later meeting. We have heard that Dave Hayes has been
Not available.
not available this morning, so we'll just put that on a later date. So with that, we'll move into approval of the minutes for February 28th and March 7th.
You want to do them both? Motion to approve February 28th. Was everybody here, though? Let's February 28th minutes. We'll start with that one, I guess.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for February 28th. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, March 7th.
Motion to approve minutes from March 7th, 2023.
Second.
Okay, all in favor by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving into commissioners' reports and comments.
I'll go first if you want.
There you go. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. Last night, I attended the Williamsport Town Council swearing in of their two new commissioners, councilmen. One was reelected. So congratulations to Earl Parashuk, Jim Braswell, and Ben Tinsley. Thank you for coming out to serve your community. Over the weekend, Sunday, I attended the Court of Honor for Eagle Scout Landon Conrad. That was a nice event. Saturday evening, I also attended the 4-H Achievement Awards. About 200 people were there, and we had a familiar face, Emily Stiles, who you remember she came in here and gave us a portrait of a landscape, and she also brought us in a milk and a cow. So it was nice to see her win several awards among all the other children. And then congratulations to our Parks and Rec Department for a very good turnout for the Run for Your Luck St. Patty's Day race in downtown Hagerstown. I think there was 550 some people registered for the race and spectators, so it was a good turnout. So thanks to all the people who were involved in conducting that race. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jeff. Randy?
Good morning. Boy, everybody's right here. It's easy. Nobody over there. What's the deal? But anyway, Sharpsburg had a nice event. It was a relic display at the museum. Well, it wasn't at the museum, it was a church there. It was Civil War relics, and they had a bunch of vendors come in with their displays of relics that were mostly dug over the years. So I appreciate the museum for offering that. I was able to go to Long Meadow Fire Department last week. They honored, presented Donald Talbert our proclamation certificate for his 50 years of service at Long Meadow. That was a big deal, 50 years. I think Long Meadow's only been there 50 or 51 years, so he was almost a founding father. So it was good to see somebody that hung with our volunteers for 50 years. And as Commissioner Klein said, Run Fest was a success. A lot of people really appreciate Jamie Dick and his staff putting that Run Fest on, and the city for supporting it with police and just everything they added to support it too. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Wayne?
Yes. Thank you. A couple items to mention here. Today, I think, is the first official full day of spring, and that means nicer weather and longer days in particular I'm excited about, but was hoping that maybe because we do have nicer weather upon us and longer days, we might have an opportunity to start having some evening meetings that we talked about and opening it up to the public, our meetings more often. I know we meet in the municipalities throughout the year, which is nice. We don't really have a full agenda. I think it would be nice to have a full agenda in the evenings so the public can see what we do and work on. So hopefully we can agree to move forward with that. Would like to report on that I had a meeting last week with the mayor of Hagerstown, the new mayor, Takesha Martinez. We had a great discussion and both committed to working together for the betterment of not just Hagerstown, but Washington County. Would like to congratulate the soon-to-be appointed council member from Hagerstown, new incoming council member Matt Schindler. Congratulations to him and thanks to everyone who applied for that vacancy. You know, someone who I guess got my start on this board through an appointment process. It's true, it's not a position that you're elected to, but it's according to the town charter or the Constitution nonetheless. So congratulations to him, and I hope he does well for the citizens of Hagerstown. I also had in the last, I don't think it was last week, I think it was the week before, but we didn't meet last week. I attended the meeting of the Western Maryland Consortium, which is a job development organization, workforce development organization that has a location in each of the 3 Western Maryland counties. And we had our quarterly meeting in Cumberland. A great report was given to us, and I had a copy printed out that I'll leave in our office so everyone can take a look here. But an economic overview for each of the 3 counties individually and the 3 counties combined. I just wanted to point out a few statistics as it pertains to Washington County. Unemployment by demographic, our largest demographic that is unemployed is the age range of 25 to 34. That amounts to 25.69% of the unemployed population. Unemployment by gender is virtually equal, 49.3% females and 50.6% males. Population characteristics for here in Washington County. Of our population, 30,120 citizens represent the millennial generation, which is right on par with the United States overall. The retiring soon population is 48,649 individuals. That's individuals 55 and older, so everyone takes retirement at a slightly different age, I suppose, but 48,649, which is slightly ahead of the national average. Veterans account for 9,877 individuals in our population. That is ahead of the national average for veterans. Some more statistics look at inbound and outbound migration coming into and flowing out of the county. One of our top incoming demographic is from Frederick County, Montgomery County, Berkeley County, West Virginia. Some of our top outflowing counties where our population goes to move: Frederick County, Maryland; Berkeley County, West Virginia; Franklin County, Pennsylvania. A few more, if you'll just bear with me, I think is interesting. Our largest industries in Washington County, the top 3: retail, healthcare, and social assistance in government. And we are above the national average in retail and healthcare and below the national average in government. Top industry earners by wage, annual pay. Management and companies ranks first. Utilities, mining, quarry, oil and gas extraction, finance and insurance, and government make up the top 5 there. Growing occupations, community and social services, business and financial operations are among the top growing occupations. Top occupational earners, that's kind of a repeat. And top posted occupations, these are job postings, unique job postings for jobs based by industry. Number 1, healthcare practitioners and technical. Hopefully Meritorious Medical School will help to fill that, those voids. Sales and related, management, office support, transportation. our top posted occupations here in Washington County. So some great information. I'll make sure a copy of this is in our commissioner's office so we can each take a look at it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Wayne. Mr. Harvey?
Just a couple of things. I got a little bit of a laryngitis, so the Boonesboro Economic Commission met last week and participated in that. It was the largest meeting they've had to date, and they're doing a lot of good things there, and I think it's a good model for some other initiatives in the county if you're looking at it from perspective of maybe Smithsburg or someplace else. Historical Advisory Commission continues to do good work, and they're planning a major event to honor some people on May 10th, and I think we're all invited to that. And there'll be more information coming on that, and since I don't have much of a voice, I'm going to cease with that. Thank you.
Thank you. As usual, this time of year, MACO, Maryland Association of Counties, has been very busy. Been attending mostly by Zoom, sitting in on their bill discussion and weighing in on many issues with both the environment, education, and land use. Also, one of the things to highlight the last 2 weeks for me with a busy schedule is Saturday evening I was invited to participate in the Hagerstown Lions Club 100th anniversary ceremony. It was an extremely successful dinner meeting to look at the history of the Hagerstown Lions Club over the past 100 years, what they have done, what they have given back to this community. I was sitting there and I couldn't help in my comments that evening that, you know, government is here to serve the citizens, but without public service clubs like the Lions for the past 100 years, what they have given back is just unbelievable to this community. Some of the highlights are eyeglass, baby, over the years, milk for young babies, and the list just goes on. And you look at the officers and directors over the 100 years, the movers and shakers in our community, a lot of well-known names that have given back without hesitation. It's quite an accomplishment. So hats off to the Hagerstown Lions Club. Maybe we wish them another successful 100 years and thank them for their service to this community. It's just invaluable. The other thing is weekly I try to do a look ahead, a couple things here to keep on our radar schedule. The March 24th, grand opening of Premier Spine and Sports, 3 p.m. Also March 24th, Class 4 Emergency Communications graduation, 6 p.m. down at the Public Safety Training Center. March 27th, I guess is next Monday, is the MML dinner in Sharpsburg. And also on the 30th, we have the Washington County Public School Celebration of Service dinner at Tech High. So we'll keep those on our schedule, and if we have commissioner participation at those events, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else from the commissioners this morning? Hearing none, we'll move into staff comments, and Jonathan Horwitz, got you number 1 on the list.
Morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Horowitz, Director of the Department of Business Development. I'm here today to request the board's support for 2 letters of support. Our representatives at the federal government have opened their processes for federal congressionally directed spending, which is more commonly known as the federal earmark process. So we have lots of community partners that are seeking support for various projects through the federal government's discretionary spending. So today I'm looking for support for the Hagerstown Aviation Museum. They're working to rehabilitate the 1943 Fairchild test hangar known locally more as the Dome Hangar due to its unique wooden dome arches. So this is a tourism visitors type project. So they're looking for support for that. And the other one we're looking for support today for is Easter Seals, and they're looking to create a new inclusive child development center in Hagerstown. And obviously that will impact childcare, which is a needed industry, as well as workforce. Any questions on these two projects?
Any money requests from us or just a letter of support?
Nope, just a letter of support for their federal request for federal money.
I'd motion to support Hagerstown Aviation Museum and the Easter Seals for letters of support.
Second.
Good. Any other discussion? Motion is second. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Kurt, anything this morning? County Administrator John?
Thank you, President Barr. Good morning, Commissioners. Just a few things. I just wanted to echo, I think it was Commissioner Klein who mentioned the run on St. Patrick's Day on Saturday. I did want to obviously thank our staff. I know they do a lot of work to put that together, and I think it was a really good event. Obviously, Commissioner Kiefer talked about evening meetings. We are meeting with the municipalities. Our original meeting with the town of Smithsburg was supposed to be April 18th. They had called, they had a change in their schedule, so we will actually be meeting in Smithsburg on April 25th, in the evening, April 25th. So just wanted to let everybody know that. And the last thing, I also have, the Commissioners received 2 requests for letters of support for different things. The first one came from the Friends of the Washington County Rural Heritage Museum. They are seeking $9,500 in funding from the Preservation Maryland Heritage Fund to hire a consultant to develop a strategic plan for the Friends. And they've asked the Commissioners for a letter of support, and no financial ask from the Commissioners, just a letter of support to send in to Preservation Maryland.
I would make a motion to support that.
Second. Go ahead.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, the second one, we received a request, Commissioners received a request from Horizon Goodwill Industries. They are seeking funding from the Appalachian Regional Commission to support, as they call it, the non-construction completion of a healthy food initiative in the city of Hagerstown. Provide access to fresh, affordable food for city residents, providing shoppers access to nutritional information, and some other things relating to that. So again, no financial request from the Commissioners, just a letter of support to the Appalachian Regional Commission, the Hagerstown Goodwill seeking a grant to provide food to residents in the city of Hagerstown.
Motion to support.
Second.
Okay, motion is second to support. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, John. Next item is Youth Meritorious Award presentation. Nicole Phillips.
You can do it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Phillips, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management. I'm here today for the Youth Meritorious Award. Throughout the school year, the Board of County Commissioners present the Youth Meritorious Awards to students attending both public and private schools or those being homeschooled within Washington County. The following individuals have been selected based on their scholastic achievement, leadership qualities, community service performed, or other positive contributions to their school and community. These exceptional youths have consistently worked and distinguished themselves as model students and members of our county. It is my pleasure to present the following youths today for recognition. We have Elena Althouse from North Hagerstown High and Reed Althouse, also from North Hagerstown High. And they are accompanied by their mother, Michelle Althouse, in the audience. And with that, I'll pass it over to the commissioners.
Okay, this is always a fun part of our job. We like to honor outstanding students in our community and say thank you for all of your hard work, and we'll make you deputized county commissioners and put you right to work. So, so I'm going to ask Vice President Klein,
I'll do one, you can do the other.
we'll make the 2 presentations. think we better get this right.
Rehearsal went bad.
Still taking pictures.
No, you're good.
You're fine, go ahead.
Please come up.
We'll take pictures after.
We'll have big pictures up front.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, no, no. Okay. 1, 2, 3.
This certificate of recognition is presented to Elena Althouse. We, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, do hereby recognize you for your outstanding achievement of being selected as a recipient of March 2023 Youth Meritorious Award, North Hagerstown High School. Your academic accomplishments, humanitarian efforts, and extracurricular activities are to be commended by both parents and students in Washington County. You have proven to be a superior role model. We congratulate you on your achievement and wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Your certificate to Staples and also your county commissioner pin.
And I too have a certificate of recognition for Reed Althouse. I guess you two are related, correct? Very good. Oh, very good.
Wonderful.
Hey. So I too would like to read, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, do hereby recognize you for outstanding achievement of being selected as a recipient of the March 2023 Youth Meritorious Award. Pardon me. At North Hagerstown High School. Your academic accomplishments, humanitarian efforts, and extracurricular activities are to be commended, and you and your parents and students in Washington County should be proud. You have proven to be a superior role model. We congratulate you on the achievement and wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. And we too have a Staples gift card for you and our county lapel pin, which represents George Washington, who our county is named after, and the 9 stars represent each other municipality. Please wear it proudly.
You must be quite the duo at North High.
Hold your plaque up and we'll get official. Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, commissioners? Yeah, we'll get a single picture here and then we'll get the commissioners up front.
One, two, three. Thank you. If you want to go up front.
Yeah, I know you do. I know where you're at, yeah. I didn't know they were twins.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Are you sure you don't know?
Congratulations.
You guys. Jump in here, Mom, just get one with Mom. Mom, why don't you get in there with them and we'll get a picture with your camera.
Yeah, I remember this little. Yeah, this little, yeah.
Okay. 1, 2,
Administrators, the same thing.
3.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, my apologies. We gotta wind her back here a little bit. I'm still learning, I guess. I skipped right over citizens' participation this morning, so do we have any citizens here this morning? My apologies.
In the background, Mr. Grant.
Morning, Neil. Again, my apologies. You probably didn't think I wanted you to say anything.
That's okay. It's not the first time. So I've literally known Reed and Elena since they were born. They have quite a life story. You should ask them one day, and they're really good kids. Good morning, President Barr, commissioners, and staff. Bear with me, I'm going to be really close to the time limit. I've tried to cut as much out as I could. Neil Becker, President of the Washington County Teachers Association, 18047 Oak Ridge Drive in Hagerstown. I rise today to share comments on Draft 3 of the county budget. Staff has prepared slides regarding MOE per pupil, the Washington County's ranking and staffing versus enrollment. Yes, per pupil staffing has increased. According to staff's data in the slides, in 2023, the cost per pupil is just $776.99 more per pupil compared to what was spent in 2023. That's an annual increase of $77 per pupil, and that number is not outrageous. Regarding Washington County's ranking, considering percentage of general fund budget and where the county sits, the fact that the county's in the middle of the pack, it's not necessarily a fact worthy of highlighting. But since staff has highlighted it, I looked at 3 counties ranked 9 through 13 and researched the salaries of teachers with a master's degree and advanced professional certificates and 15 years of experience. The state requires teachers to earn the advanced certificate and to pursue postgraduate classes. It's not an option. So rounded to the nearest thousand with a ranking of 9 is Cecil County at $81,000. That's a 15-year teacher, master's degree, and an advanced professional certificate. So Cecil County ranking of 9 is $81,000. Washington County at 10, $68,000. Charles County at 11, $82,000. Baltimore County at 12, $76,000. Talbot County at 13 is at $73,000. So Washington County educators are earning considerably less, between $5,000 and $14,000 less than the similarly ranked and lower ranked counties. In many areas, Washington County Public Schools academic attendance and graduation data surpasses theirs. One example is our KRA readiness data. It's near the top of the state. A few years ago, some of the same commissioners sitting here in the room today were grilling me and Washington County Public Schools over low performance on the KRA. Now you know why Washington County Public Schools has been investing in pre-K, and the return on investment is clear. Finally, regarding MOE, don't forget that the Washington County Board of Education, that number now includes millions of dollars spent not on students, but on nurses, buses, SROs, and guards. All items that were not in MOE about 10 years ago. So Washington County may be the only county, or now down to one of 2, that refuses to include the cost of SROs in the public safety budget. It's now in that MOE we're talking about. Slide 3 of staff's artifacts cites an increase in employees. I again refer to that KRA data and pre-K. WCPS has full-day pre-K in every elementary school and in some high schools. Each class must be staffed by at least 1 teacher, and most pre-K programs have at least 1 full-time paraprofessional. This year, there are 68 teachers and 74 paraprofessionals for a total of 142 educators just for pre-K. So yes, Washington County Public Schools has increased staffing in recent years. It's important to note also that Maryland was not funding pre-K students as it funded students in grades K through 12. So Washington County Public Schools has literally been doing more with less. Also regarding staffing increases, Washington County Public Schools has added school counselors, special education teachers, EL teachers, social workers, school safety personnel, and more. All of the additional staff breathe the air the students breathe, and they are essential to student success. The Blueprint for Maryland's Future requires all school systems to enhance special education, CTE, and EL. It's a requirement. It's in law, which means more educators. More educators means more money. The Blueprint legislation requires Washington County Public Schools to do more data collection, more accounting, and more documentation, which has forced WCPS to increase personnel. So I'm almost done. Please consider a few more thoughts. 10 years ago, we go back 10 years ago, like this data, the basic extended cab, 2013 Chevy Silverado. I own a 2002 Silverado that's pretty darn rusty. So 2013 Chevy Silverado cost $23,980. 58% of the $41,495 base cost today. 10 years ago, Washington County Public Schools teacher with 15 years experience earned $58,881, 86% of its current salary of $68,233. The price of the basic truck has increased $17,515. The salary increase for a professional teacher with a master's degree and advanced professional certificate is just $9,352. The educator staffing crisis is real. Don't contribute to it by forcing staff to leave or never join Washington County Public Schools because they can earn substantially more in other districts. The graphs shared by staff appear dramatic, but I encourage you to look at the full picture, request more data, and to engage in discussions with WCPS leadership and school-based educators. Our students and the staff dedicated to their success deserve a fully funded budget, or at least one that reflects the school system's requirements to increase staffing and programming outlined in Maryland law. The current county staff proposal handcuffs Washington County Public Schools as it strives to meet the needs of its students. Thank you. And I have copies for you, and they're also coming to you via email, so thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Okay, other citizens' participation?
Thank you, Neil.
Can you give us your name and address so we have it for the record?
Good morning. I'm Bill Gertner, 4 East North Avenue in Hagerstown, 21740. And I am the Executive Director of Gatekeepers, a reentry program for returning citizens from the returning citizens to Washington County from the State Department of Correction, and our detention center, as well as working with the recovering addicts who come back to our county, our residents. And with me is my Director of Operations, Keith Royce. And ironically, the gentleman spoke before us. If he is successful, we wouldn't have to be here. Education / incarceration, how they go hand in hand. The more money, as we know, the state of Maryland spends more money in incarceration than they do in education. So we find that very interesting to follow. And as I said, it's a pleasure to be here. Gatekeepers started when I got out of prison. I was released here in 2013. In 2014, we started the only reentry program in town at that time. And we've been most successful during the last 8 years, and to the point where we're known as the most successful reentry program in the state of Maryland. And why we're here today is proof of that. We have a problem in getting a bridge. We're asking for a bridge loan, and Keith will go over the statistics that will back up what our request is. But so quickly, what we do at Gatekeepers, we're involved with the county almost 24/7. We're at the day reporting center every Tuesday that you people so graciously have been funded. I've been there from day one, and we give our reentry program there for returning citizens. We're in the just in the JSAT program in the detention center, and we're also in the general population. We go in there every Wednesday night and do our business of living program. So we're actually working for you guys. We're already working for you, and we've been doing that for 8 years. And the Leo Economic Foundation from the University of Notre Dame selected us to come in and work on a program with us for 2 years, 2 to 3 years, to see how effective we are in our program in terms of reentry and how we affect the county in general. So with that in mind, Keith will explain specifically why we came here.
Hi, I'm Keith Royce, also for East North Avenue here in Hagerstown. Like Bill said, let me back up. He and I were locked up together back in 2010 to 2012 at the old state pen in Baltimore, and we spent a lot of time walking the rec yard thinking about creating this program. What we have right now is we're working on a state grant. It's a 12-month grant from July 1st to June 30th. That's been awarded. We're into the March phase of it. We just got word from the state. They came and visited us to follow the money and see how we're doing on spending it. And they made us aware of another opportunity of surplus funds in the existing grant period that we could request, but at conditions where it had to be spent between April 1st and June 30th. So we put in an ask. I think the first ask was around $60,000. The state came right back and said, bump it up, bump it up. 17 emails later, I'm at $347,550, and the state just approved it last Friday. We don't have that kind of money in our bank account, so we're looking for your all's help and partnership with us. We need a bridge loan to spend this money. This grant is one of those where you got to spend it, invoice it, and then get a check back from the state. The state usually takes several weeks to get those checks back. We're asking for some help in managing the funding part of this so we can fully implement the program. What we plan on doing with it, the bulk of it, is recognizing those that have been in our business of living program for a while, not the brand new release guys, but we've met some of their basic needs already. We want to offer them a scholarship opportunity. It's going to value about $10,000 per individual that we invest over that 90-day period with them. It's going to be carefully managed. We're going to have mentors walking with them, making sure the goal is to help them get a little financial freedom. So if they've got some back due medical payments or car payments they want to double up on, or just establish a savings, we want to work with them. If we give you $10,000 over 3 months, what are you going to do with that money that you save? So we've got community leaders partnering with us to help provide that mentorship process to those folks. Other parts of the grant are going to go for some office furniture because we just expanded our spaces up in our building from 1 office to 3 office spaces. And some training for some folks and some more workbooks like these, a variety of things. But nuts and bolts, that's what we're asking for. Like Bill alluded to, we've been here for 8, 9 years helping reduce the county recidivism rate, which is up 60–70% right now. And as he mentioned, we're partnering with Notre Dame's Lab for Economic Opportunity to determine what is the effectiveness of this program on reducing the county recidivism rate. Historically and anecdotally, we believe we're running less than 20%. We don't have the evidence-based data yet to show that. So we've partnered with Notre Dame to create that. They're gathering about a 300 group population in a research study. We've got 100 people enrolled already. And over the next year or two, we're going to start generating that data that's actually what is our effectiveness on reducing the county recidivism rate. Everybody that we keep home for good saves the taxpayers at least $35,000 of incarceration budget money. So we've been adding a lot of value to our community. These are folks staying home, they're living here, they're buying here, they're voting here, they're residents of our county. So this program will help with those folks and help them stay home for good.
This is basically citizen participation. We usually don't engage, but I have to, it probably should have known you're supposed to pay back and it's over. What happens, just for me to try to process, what happens a year from now when this money's spent and if it's reoccurring?
State grants are normally 12-month periods. We've had a 6-month one, and we're working on a 12-month one, and we've been invited to apply for another 12-month one. So the Plan is to continue these programs as long as we can get these grant funds in and support them, both on the basic needs for the guys and gals that are just getting out, food, clothing, shelter, as well as the scholarships for those guys that are beyond the basic needs and ready to move forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
It's not our primary source of funding. We have other funders as well.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. And lastly, each Saturday morning at the Trinity Lutheran Church, we have what we call Citizens Meeting Returning Citizens. So we'd like to invite you people to we're there every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 11:30. And some judges come as well as the citizens come, our returning citizens, everyone who's in our program. And we started a year and a half ago in my office with 8 to 10 people. We now have 76, we had 76 there last Saturday. So if you want to see us in action and where your taxpayer successful money comes, please come to the Trinity Lutheran Church any Saturday at 10 o'clock. John has been there. He can attest to that. And one of our the biggest successes we've had is getting employment. And one of the best employment, and I've got to say, is ACNT. And Mr. Klein introduced me to those when I was starting and had nothing. And he introduced me to ACNT and the people there, and they embraced us. And we've placed at least 100 people there in the last 8 years. And I appreciate Jeff. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Other citizens' participation this morning?
Thank you.
Or you can take this.
That's fine. We'll share it. Yeah, thank you, Bill.
Okay. No other citizens' participation this morning. We'll move into Dave Barnhart, Washington County Disabilities Advisory Committee. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. Thank you for the time. What we're looking to do today is just provide a report of our activity. I think this will be the first time we've had the opportunity to provide the report. You should have a document we sent over. Okay. Well, we'll make sure you get it. So really just trying to enlighten the commissioners as to our activities that have been going on since 2019. In the time that we've been working together, our team has actually accomplished quite a bit. We were able to launch and regularly maintain the Disability Resource Directory that's hosted on the county's website. We've also shared that resource guide out to the other municipalities, so they have it as well on their website. That guide has links to services and resources and fun things that folks can do here in the county. And as we have more resources that come to us, either through the state or through any other availabilities, we update that guide, and we greatly appreciate the support that we get by having it hosted on your website, the accessibility that it provides to the constituents here. We also went ahead and created a logo for the committee, which we're able to use on the Facebook page that also was created and is supported through the Public Relations Department. We appreciate that greatly. We've been doing a lot of work trying to provide greater awareness of disability-related issues in the county. We have gained greater involvement from elected officials, which we really appreciate. Commissioner Wagner is a regular participant of our monthly meetings, as well as Councilman Alshire. So that's a big part of, folks just making the connection between what we're trying to do just make sure folks are aware of all the things that can happen here in the community for those who are disabled and their families. The other thing that we've been able to do is have a broader outreach to healthcare and educational professionals. We have a lot of ad hoc members on that committee, representatives from Meritorious Health, representatives from the Board of Education. So we're trying to make connections between services that are available and the families and the individuals who need them on a direct basis. We also do a great deal of outreach to staff who provide recreational activities. So we're working with the folks in the county recreation department, in the city recreation department. They've been terrific. We're all looking forward to the new park that's going to be, the new elements in the Marty Snook Park that's going to be built there. It sounds like it's going to be just a fantastic opportunity for folks to gather together and have some good relaxation. We're helping to get out the word that the county actually has a disability awareness and advisory committee. It's one of those things where if you don't know about us, that's okay. We're still going to do whatever we can to help the citizens as much as we can. We're linking individuals with disabilities to the organizations that can advocate for and provide special services to them. We've been a conduit for ensuring an environment of awareness and inclusiveness for all private and public partners in the community. We realize that there really isn't an issue with accessibility. It's not about being accessible. It's also about just creating an opportunity for inclusiveness. So those two words sometimes get mixed together, but we realize that all the staff members and all the people we've been working with make accessibility a primary goal, but it's all about creating an inclusive opportunity as well. We have recruited some additional DAC members, and then we also have an individual who's joined us from the Maryland Department of Disabilities Administration on a regular basis. She's a terrific conduit back and forth directly between our committee and the DDA, and sometimes there can be some breakdown in communication between individuals who are trying to get resources or understand what activities or what access they actually have. So we have a direct conduit with the DDA, and I think that's pretty important. We have tried to establish some goals, and part of this is so that we can make sure that we're doing what you want this committee to do. The committee was established by the county commissioners, and the folks who are on the committee want to make sure that whatever we are undertaking, it is what you want to have accomplished for the citizens here. We want to provide some regular reporting back to you. We are looking to create a brochure and marketing materials to be distributed at in-person events like the home shows, the Flower and Garden Show, so many other opportunities here in the community. And then we want to continue to add resources to the Disability Resource Guide related to employment and related to leisure. Not everything is all about, being able to access swimming pools or whatnot, but what other things can people be doing in the community here? Volunteer opportunities. We're looking to create a resource link for those with disabilities who actually desire to volunteer at nonprofit organizations. There's a great need for a lot of the nonprofits who need help. Well, there's a very significant population out there who have either intellectual or physical disabilities, but they want to be a part of the community, and how can they volunteer? So we want to make sure that we can create a resource link that way. Making more organizations aware that there are volunteers who do have disabilities who are available and capable to help out. We want to create a greater outreach to the differently abled community so they know where to go for resources and for services. We're looking to continue to secure and enact grants that can help this community, and we've been able to work in concert with the health department on a couple of occasions where they've had some outreach monies that they're looking to get messaging out, and we've been able to help them with that. Advocate always to improve access, promote inclusion and awareness. These are ongoing goals. Looking for quality assurance should be an area that the committee can work on for solutions to improve the care of disabled individuals in group home settings. Just making sure that everyone is getting the care and the resources and the services that they need. Working in concert with the Sheriff's Department and the City Police Department on an education program on how to work with an individual who has an intellectual or a developmental disability should they come in contact with them at a particular scene. You've heard of these instances where someone isn't understood because they may have autism and they're not able to communicate clearly. So how can we help the officers and the sheriff's deputies understand to recognize what may be happening and how can they then take the appropriate action. Possibly a class or a seminar down at the new public training center. That's just something for us to try and help out with. And then, just continue to support the equitable opportunities here in the county, find new ways to collaborate with services that are already in place, like Project Lifesaver through the Public Safety Training Center. I was looking at this last night, and I'll be very honest, didn't know anything about it. My High and the Public Safety Training Center have a terrific service. It's literally something that, virtually anyone can have. So if you have a family member who may have an issue with wandering off, whether they have Alzheimer's or some other intellectual disability, there is a device that they can wear that then law enforcement officers can find them right away. So I didn't know about it, but it was on your website. I found it, and I think it's a great way for us to collaborate and let more people know about it. And then utilize our access to the Maryland Developmental Disabilities Administration to provide more training for direct support personnel. This training can lend to more employment opportunities here, either for the larger organizations like the ARC or for families who are trying to find a competent person to provide personal support privately. So a lot of goals, but we do have a good, hardworking group of people on this committee, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve as many of these as possible.
Dave, the first speech I give all my committees is if you don't come in and give a report and bring us up to speed, I just sit here and heard a couple things I didn't know, and I'm on your committee. So, I really appreciate you coming in. I wish everybody would do that. And, we're here to help. If you have a concern or you have an idea, don't hesitate to pass it on. I think all the commissioners feel that way about their own committees. But sometimes we just don't know what's going on in the committees, what's happening behind the scene. I do appreciate you coming in and giving us an update.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All righty.
Appreciate it. Very, very informative. Okay, next item is FY24 solid waste budget. Dave Mason. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Dave Mason, Deputy Director with Solid Waste. Here this morning to present our FY24 budget. I'll be brief. I don't want to bore you with the gory details of every department, but we're looking at a overall 9.04% increase, and basically overall departments that's based off of the COLA. Wages and benefits, increases in leachate treatment and hauling, environmental monitoring, recycling services, and dumpster hauling. There will be no request for increase in rates this year, and that is due to a significant decrease in the debt service next year. Any questions?
No increase.
No rate increase.
That's all we need to hear.
So what I heard was 9.40 increase in the budget. Is that what I just heard?
Correct.
Well, that's pretty much tied directly to the wage increase. So there's really not much increase to the budget at all.
Correct.
That was offset by decreases in debt service, so that's why there's no rate increase needed this year.
Good.
Good report.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next up is FY24 water quality budget. Mark? Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners. Here today to talk about the Department of Water Quality's budgets. They consist of 4 actual individual budgets: utility, water, sewer, and then the pretreatment. And we also have the Clean County. Overall, our expenditures have a 15.77% increase in our budgets. A lot of that is contributed to salaries, and the other big expenditure that we saw the increase in was chemicals associated with the treatment processes. Our current chemical budget, we bid it there about 3 months ago. The minimum increase we saw was 20%, and the maximum was a 50% increase. So for budgetary purposes, we included a 35% increase across the board on all our chemical expenses. And then the other major expense increase was the salary and benefits packages. We are proposing rate increases.
Michelle Gordon, Chief Financial Officer. In your packet, you should have the 10-year projections that are generated from the water and sewer rate model projections. The sewer fund base grew as a result. Let me just go over those. The first would be the sewer fund rate model. And the lines that are highlighted in yellow represent the projected annual surplus and any required service rate increases, which is at the bottom of the line, or bottom of the sheet. For the sewer fund, the base did grow as a result of the transfer flow agreement that was approved in January of 2022. That was between the city and the county. As a result, the sewer fund saw a 60% increase in billable volume, and because of those factors, the current sewer rate is projected to be adequate for next fiscal year and for several years to come. The proposed budget for fiscal year '24 does not include a rate increase for the sewer fund. Additionally, no transfer from the general fund is needed to sustain operations for fiscal year '24. Do I have any questions about the sewer fund's rate model?
Just a clarification, we didn't have any rate increase last year on either, did we?
No.
Okay.
For the water fund, that is the next two projections in your packet. I included a projection with a 4.7% increase and then a projection to bring the water fund to a sustainable model. The water fund did not see growth in either its customer base or its billable volume, which means increases in costs are much harder to absorb and translate into higher increases for existing customers. No rate increase was approved in fiscal year '23, as we just mentioned, and as you can see from the 10-year projection, we will continue to see the need for water rate increases due to projected shortfalls that result from the smaller customer base and no billable volume growth. To bring the water fund to a self-sustaining model, that second rate model sheet is what you would need to look at. It would mean that rates would need to increase by more than 20%. Staff is recommending an increase of 4.7% in water rates for fiscal year '24. We will need to have similar rate increases in the coming years. As a result of the lower increase of 4.7%, transfers from the general fund are projected at about $800,000 in order to sustain operations. Any questions about the water and sewer rate models? Some additional changes that we included because of the change in the makeup of water and sewer customer base. Staff also recommended changing the allocation from the water and sewer funds to the utility fund, and we recommended that change from 90% sewer, 10% water to 91% sewer and 9% water. I know this doesn't seem like it's a big adjustment, but changing that allocation will help reduce the overhead burden on water customers and shift it more to the sewer customers. So if there are no questions about any of the rate models or any of the information, we would need a consensus of the commission to take the proposed water and sewer rates to a public hearing. This does not mean that the commission supports the rate increase or approves the rates. It does mean that a public hearing will be held on the proposed rates in order to obtain public input.
Michelle, I have a question. Maybe I can't find it in my agenda. Maybe my timing is off a little bit in that it comes when we go to a public hearing, but if I recall correctly, in years past, we received a chart that shows what the current, whether it's water or sewer rate is for a typical user, and then what a proposed rate increase would be for the typical user.
It should have been in, I thought that was included in your packet. 23-3.
Would be for the water fund.
My book goes to 22-63 and then pages 1 and 2.
So for a 4.7% increase, I'll make sure you get that information. I do have it here with me for a 4.7% increase. The average charge per quarter for a water customer is about 12,000 gallons per quarter. So it would increase their quarterly rate from $181 to $190. So it's about $8.46 per quarter for the average homeowner. And I'll make sure that you get that information.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So with the average without, since there's no sewer rate hike, it's about $9 a quarter.
Correct.
And all we're doing is moving it to public hearing with the consensus?
Yes, it'll go to public
Or motion
hearing.
or consensus, what do you need?
Just a consensus for it to go to public hearing at this point.
And the cost for us to just maintain this by covering it in the general fund would be what?
The cost would mean that our annual contribution would increase from $800,000 by about $850,000 and about $25,000 to $30,000 annually thereafter. The biggest problem with that is it creates problems with the rating agencies. This fund is supposed to be self-supporting, and it impacts our status if the fund no longer is self-supported by user fees.
So that'd be the bond rating, that would affect the bond rating?
It would affect our bond rating, it would affect our interest rates on general obligation issues as well as future water and sewer issues.
I'll motion to move it to public hearing. We still have time to address any changes after hearing from the public.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's our only option right now, go to public hearing and hear how it washes out, so.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Do you need a motion? Because
I think we decided it was consensus,
We just
right?
need a consensus.
Consensus for me.
To move to public hearing. Okay. I think we have a consensus. So that's what we'll do. We'll move forward.
And you'll email that additional page to us?
I will.
Yeah, there's charts.
Yeah, we need that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is 2024 general fund budget proposed. Michelle and Kim. Good morning, Kim.
Morning.
Michelle Gordon, Chief Financial Officer.
Medlin, Director of Budget and Finance.
Before I go over draft 3 of the budget, I'd like to go over some additional information and just provide you with some additional summary information. I think it's important for the public to know that the Commission supports education and public safety and the extent of its commitment to education and public safety. The largest portion of the fiscal year 24 budget is $122.8 million. It's 44%. It's dedicated to education. Education includes the Board of Ed, HCC, and the libraries. Second largest portion of the budget is for public safety, $75.2 million, at 27%. That includes allocations for police, EMS, 911, and fire operations. The third largest portion would be capital transfers. That includes $15.8 million in debt service and $6 million in transfers to the capital outlay fund. Now, for the largest portion, which is education, I think it's important also to note that the single largest allocation that the Commission has is for the Board of Education at $109.1 million, which makes up 39% of the total budget. Before I go into changes in draft 3, I wanted to show you some of the statistics and funding information for education. For fiscal year 23's budget, Washington County fell 10th in the general fund allocation as a percent of their budget when compared to Maryland's 24 counties. Washington County ranks higher than half of Maryland counties in education contributions. If you compare Washington County to its peer groups, which are highlighted in blue, Allegheny and Garrett County fall well below Washington County in their contributions to education. The county does heavily invest in education for the community, and I just wanted to make sure that that was apparent. The chart on your left is the county's maintenance of effort funding per pupil. The amount of county funding per pupil has increased substantially over the years from $4,278 per pupil in 2013 to $5,055 per pupil in 2023. That's an 18% increase over that 10-year period. For fiscal year '24, maintenance of effort is expected to increase by an additional 1% to $5,102 per pupil. The state is also providing $11,000 per child, and if you combine the state and county contribution, it makes a total of $16,129 per child.
Michelle, is that constant dollars or is that adjusted for inflation?
That is constant dollars based on the prior year's maintenance of effort, so it would include any inflation that had been built into their budget in the prior years. The next chart that I wanted to show you was I plotted out the blue line on your chart there is the county's total enrollment over the last 10 years. This information was pulled directly from the Board of Ed's approved budget. So it decreased from 21,913 pupils in 2013 to 21,194 pupils in fiscal year '23. For fiscal year '24, the Board of Ed was able to use a 3-year average, which included pre-COVID numbers as well as post-COVID numbers to come up with an average projected enrollment in fiscal year '24 of 21,374 pupils. The second line on that first chart in orange represents the Board of Ed's employee count. The employee count in 2013 was 2,726 employees, and that has increased to 2,953 employees in fiscal year '23. It's expected to increase by an additional 124 employees in fiscal year '24. You would expect those two trend lines to follow the same trend, and as you can see, because of COVID, we have a crisscross effect. The trend lines are no longer following the same pattern. So what I did was I took that blue trend line for pupil enrollment and I laid it over top of the amount per pupil. This information was also obtained from the Board of Ed's annual budget. So once you take the blue trend line and you lay it over top of the amount per pupil, the composite amount per pupil includes state funding, county funding, as well as federal funding that they receive. So you can see that the trend for their funding per pupil has increased from 2013's $13,294 per pupil to $18,749 per pupil in fiscal year '23. And we have that same crisscross effect that we saw in enrollment where the funding amount allocation is continuing to increase, whereas the pupil amount is crossing over and is no longer following that same trend. Fiscal year '24's draft 3 budget includes $48,000 in adjustments. Very minor adjustments were made. The original proposed budget was $281,012,330. Disparity grant increases of $330,000 were included as the governor's supplemental budget number 1 increased the disparity grant from $2.65 million to $2.99 million. Operating grants were decreased by $290,000 based on updated grant information that we've received on applications. Those increases of $48,000 in revenues were offset by increases in expenditures. Based on discussions with the volunteer fire departments as well as EMS operations, we did increase fire operations by $136,000 for their turnout gear replacement program. The Public Safety Training Center has an increase of $25,000 to include consulting services for structural collapse training for our fire and EMS professionals. Transfers to the water fund were decreased by $71,000, and that's based on the 4.7% proposed rate increase that we discussed a few minutes ago. And then our pension contribution is kind of our balancing factor, and we decreased that by $42,000. So we have a balanced budget at $281,060,350. And at this point, I'd like to open it up to the county commissioners for requests for information, any potential changes to the proposed budget. I just want you to keep in mind that any increases in expenditures may mean the need for tax rate increases. Any increases in expenditures need to be evaluated for sustainability in the future, especially if they're included on the operating side and they're not a one-time expenditure for capital or some other one-time expense.
Comments, thoughts?
So Michelle, when I look at Kerwin and the mandates there, over the next, 6 years out, there's at least a $10 million mandated plus up for the county's contribution.
Correct. The latest guidance that I saw from the state was, I believe, in early 2022. The annual increases for the next 5 years are expected to be pretty level or pretty normal compared to what we're used to seeing, which is about 2.5% per year. In fiscal year 2030, the state will begin shifting shifting some of its expenditure back onto the county. So in fiscal year 30 is when we should start to see higher increases for the need for education as it relates to that blueprint model or the Kerwin model.
Okay. And then disparity grants. Could you educate me on where we're at? What are we getting this year in disparity grants?
We're receiving $2.9 million, or almost $3 million, $2.99 million in disparity grant. Disparity grant increases as your income tax rate increases. So as the income tax rate is lower at 2.95%, it's 2.9.
So how much did we not get in disparity grant as a result of the last tax cut?
The last tax cut, which decreased from 3% to 2.95%, we decreased our disparity grant from about $4 or $5 million to $3 million.
Per year?
Per year.
Okay.
Now, when we were at the max income tax rate of 3.2%, the disparity grant was $8 or $9 million.
8 or 9 million?
Correct.
Okay. How long does it take for a disparity grant if you increase taxes? Looking out to 2030, does it happen right away that you get the disparity grant back?
No, the disparity grant is based on, prior year's tax rate. So for fiscal year '24, if we were to increase the income tax rate now, we would not start to see increases in the disparity grant until fiscal year '25. We also would not see a full year of income tax increases based on any income tax rate changes until fiscal year '25 because it's based on a calendar year. So if we were to increase the income tax rate with the fiscal year '24 budget, it would not take effect until January, which would be halfway through the year.
When's the last time we had 3.2 tax rate?
2 or 3 years ago.
Okay. So what's the cumulative loss because of that in disparity grant?
The cumulative loss annually was about $13 or $14 million annually.
Okay. And that's annually, so that starts to add up year after year.
Correct.
Okay. It's a pretty substantial amount. And given all the requirements that I continue to hear from constituents about whether it's for the council, the Commission on Aging, or for schools, or for Mr. Becker talking about schools, and I know you went through the school issue here quite well. Get a lot of emails and calls about roads, the backlog on farmland conservation, to say nothing of the challenges we're going to have with EMS and fire going forward in order to maintain public safety at a standard that we're going to need to as our county grows. So those numbers cumulatively, disparity grant alone would be, what are we approaching, $30 million?
In the disparity grant, we received $3 million from the
No, but
disparity.
that we have lost.
Over a 2-year period, I mean, I have to look, I calculated it over the weekend, I think.
But then next year and the next year, it adds up.
Oh, yes, each year it would add up cumulatively, correct.
Something to think about. And the cost per taxpayer?
The cost per taxpayer of 5% is about $33 annually.
Okay, and then we have a lot of taxpayers that don't pay a state income tax.
That's correct. You have,
Because it's progressive.
it's progressive. You have taxpayers who are disabled, who are receiving state assistance, and who have
Earned income tax
retirement
credits and
income,
things
earned
like
income
that.
tax credits. So
Yeah.
there are, a number of residents who do not contribute to that tax base. That's correct. And the idea behind the disparity grant is as your income tax rate increases, you're getting more money from the higher income earners, and you're able to use that disparity grant to fund agencies that provide funding for people who are in need, for low income, that provide energy assistance and food assistance to those lower income population.
So now on our income side, we've done pretty well with the economic growth in the commercial sector recently, correct?
Correct.
But we're already seeing a massive slowdown in residential, and the economy is not going well, and people are not putting their homes on the market because they're in a home with a 3% interest rate, correct?
That's correct. And you're also starting to see jobs
Growth
loss
slow
in
down.
the center of the state, and we typically follow behind the center of the state by 1 or 2 years. You're starting to see jobs loss in the technology and science sectors in Montgomery County, Baltimore County.
And in the commercial sector, there's not a lot of new orders coming in. The buildings and the growth, they're working off stuff that was committed to 18 months ago.
Correct.
So we're probably headed to a slowdown, considerable slowdown.
Right. And even the state has recognized that it's starting to see a slowdown. They've actually rewritten their revenue projections for fiscal year '24, and they've written them down by $400 million for fiscal year '24 and an additional $78 million for fiscal year '23. So they've just reduced their revenue projections by $478 million.
Now, I know this is hard to do. Anything predicting is hard because you have to base it on assumptions and your experience and your knowledge and your methodology, but your gut instinct right now on our economic growth?
Based on the 5-year projection that I've handed out to you, I'm predicting that our economic growth will start to slow down for income tax in fiscal year '25, and then for real estate, as we come out of the most recent triennial reassessment, we'll start to see leveling out of our real estate property tax base by fiscal year '26.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's my main concern. I think right now, this budget, we look pretty good. It's a balanced budget. And it's not bad. I think, in my life and what's happening, it generates the big funds, real estate, and what's happened through COVID, all that excessive money. I'm still concerned whether your projections are, not question your projections, but how off would it be in '25 and '26 if we experience a major slowdown, which, like you just talked about?
And all it takes is one major employer to close its doors, and that's happened in Frederick County, that's happened in other areas. So, you could have a significant impact on income. The projection doesn't predict those one-offs or those potential one-time things unless we know it's coming. So, anything could happen.
And the big buildings generated an enormous amount. COVID generated money because of unemployment taxes.
Unemployment taxes, and the federal government
Stimulus.
sent a large amount of money into the government, into private businesses, and into households, and that money is no longer being sent out from the federal government. So a lot of that stimulus money, a lot of the growth that we were seeing as a result of that stimulus money is drying up.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it a windfall in the last couple of years. I think that is something that nothing's forever. And that's what worries me, so.
And I think it's important that we map out our expenditure growth so that it's sustainable, and based on the projections that I had provided to you and the economic factors that we're predicting for fiscal year '25 and '26 related to the real estate base and income growth, we're not seeing the same growth in revenues that we're seeing in our expenditures. And that can be managed the first year or so with expenditure cuts, but after that, we may need to start looking
So
at
basically, you
revenues.
see we're spending more than what we're going to be taking in. That's your projection. Let's put
Correct.
it simple.
Right. If I use level growth on expenditures and the growth that we're predicting based on economic factors for revenues, revenues are not keeping pace with our expenditure growth.
I think I would agree with my colleagues on the fact that the assumption that our next few budget years are going to be difficult as the economy takes a dive. I think that's going to happen, no doubt about it. I would say that prior boards have weathered those economic storms as well without a tax increase. To the point about the Board of Education, I was looking, I've been here for 8 budget cycles now, and in those 8 budget cycles, our funding to education has increased on average it looks like $15 million a year, excuse me, not on average, but overall. $15 million a year is what we contribute additional to education than we did when I voted on my first budget. Meaning that was in an 8-year time frame, we were able to incorporate that because it is the trend, not every year, but it is the trend for incomes to rise and home values to increase. Not every year is that going to be a true fact, but remember how we tax our citizens is based on a percentage of what they bring home or a percentage of what their home is worth. So when those values increase, when they decrease, they change. So we've seen tax increase after tax increase in recent years just with home values. I'd be very cautious about relying on the disparity grant. I know we've had this conversation before, and I believe it was 2 years ago, the disparity grant was going to be taken off, completely eliminated by the state. And I fear that if we use the disparity grant for operating purposes, even if it is to fund outside agencies that we're obligated to fund anyway, there is a fear that if that's taken away, let's say if $8 million would be taken away out of our budget, can we make that up in 1 year's time? And I realize the disparity grant hasn't been taken away, but it is on the chopping block quite a bit. I would be cautious of using something that's not recurring, guaranteed, for an expense that would be guaranteed. I think, as you said, Michelle, your last comment, our expenditures have outpaced our earnings growth. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I mean, you could increase taxes, but I'm fearful those people we would be increasing taxes on. They're going to feel that economic brunt as well. Again, I don't think our economy is looking good in the foreseeable future. I just had a conversation with someone not that long ago how COVID stimulus funding may have kept businesses alive during that COVID period, businesses that would have shut down anyway if COVID never came to light like it did. So I do think we have to be cautious. I guess my approach is to be cautious and make sure we don't overspend. Our budget has grown significantly in recent years. As another point, I'm not a fan of saying let's increase funding here without finding a way to pay for it. And I know we met with the Commission on Aging a week or two ago, and they gave a very powerful message, I believe, on helping seniors. I would be supportive of helping their budget, and I know, Michelle, we talked about you would feel comfortable including more salary savings. What's the term we use? Turnover credits, I guess. Savings, and you would feel comfortable finding an additional around $500,000 to help meet their budget. Again, when we talk about a vulnerable population, seniors are going to feel and are feeling the inflation probably more than other demographics that still have an opportunity to increase their earning power. So those are my thoughts.
And their request is actually 86% more than what they had asked for in the prior fiscal year.
And just to be clear, I'm sorry, they're funding what they received last year plus the additional funding we provided through some COVID funding for the Meals on Wheels program expansion. So it's not necessarily their full amount of funding, but to keep them level from what we funded them last year through the budget process and through the grant process.
Okay, so that would be about a 51 or 52% increase over the prior fiscal year's original budget. I just want to caution you about increasing one line item that much, because a 50% increase in 1 year, again, as our revenue is only growing about 2% per year. It's not keeping pace with that expenditure growth. They also included, positions in their funding allocation that they received in September. It wasn't all used for meals for seniors. They did fund 2 positions with that. I just want to make sure that that's clear as well.
So 50% sounds like a big number, and it is a big percentage. I believe the Commission on Aging would fall under outside agencies, which according to your pie chart is 1%. So we are talking overall a very small portion of our $281 million budget.
Right. So if we were to make them whole with that $518,000 plus the $1.3 million that they received the prior year, we would need to add $421,000 to their line items for fiscal year '24.
And Michelle, the $500,000 that was voted on November 29th didn't begin to be dispersed on quarterly increments until this year, correct?
It was voted on in September. It was before I started here.
Oh, okay. I thought it was voted on in November.
No, it was in September sometime.
Okay.
That was 513,000?
518,000.
518,000?
And they started to
change.
receive the money this year, though?
Correct. That was given to them in fiscal year '23.
They started to receive the money this calendar year, though?
Yes, in fiscal year '23.
They started to receive that money immediately, didn't they?
Correct.
Back in September or?
In fiscal year '23. So fiscal year '23 started July of '22, so yes.
You're saying FY '23. I think Mr. Harvey was asking about.
Calendar year '23.
Yeah.
So it's,
I'm not sure exactly when they got their first payment. They would have gotten it in fiscal year '23.
Right.
By the end of the year, they'll have it all.
Yeah. And then we have unfunded liabilities coming up that are substantial in public safety, it looks like.
Correct.
And we don't have a way of paying for those yet.
Correct. And the agenda item that was pushed to the next item is one of those
And
unfunded.
any time we increase in any of the other areas, it's going to impact our ability to actually take care of a real requirement of public safety, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Michelle, for me, I know on the surface, it looks like a rather significant increase, but when we look at, on chart number 4, the per pupil funding, 10 years ago, it was $13,294, now it's $18,749 per pupil. I know on the surface, some will say that's a significant increase, but in my mind, when I look at 10 years of inflation, particularly the last 3, I'm sitting here running my calculator. In almost reality is that's not keeping up. So just an observation.
And my comments would be, I've been fighting for first responders for 4 years, and EMS is on our agendas coming up. I just don't want to spend any more money on anything until we satisfy our EMS requirements in the county, which, it's the old saying, first police, we helped. Fire, we've helped. EMS is in dire needs of help. That's a big deal for me. So, and that's not a political speech. That's just the way I feel. I think we need to get that, in my mind, at least started on the right path before I'm going to commit to anything. It could be this year. I don't know, but it could be in this budget. But I want to hear all those facts and figures. That's where I stand on all of it. The budget's fine right where it is right now until I figure out what we're doing with EMS, because you do have some money budgeted for that.
Yes, I included $1 million placeholder.
Yeah, I want to see what all that pans out and if we can come to an agreement on what we're going to talk about. That's where I stand, so.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Kim,
All right.
Michelle,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item has been deferred to a later date, and we'll move on to the proclamation for Purchasing Month, and I'm going to ask Vice President Klein to take that and run with it. I do need to step out. I'll rejoin my fellow commissioners at the junior college.
Anybody from purchasing here? Please come forward. I'll just give us a briefing on what purchasing month is, and then we'll introduce your staff as well.
Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing, Karen Buyer in the Purchasing Department, Lisa Brown, Procurement Technician, Janie Thompson, Procurement Technician, Aaron Waisner is a Procurement Specialist. The Governor of Maryland has always determined that March would be celebration of Purchasing Month. There's a lot of things that the department will be doing within the department. They'll be doing refresher courses on Oracle, mail processing, vendor entry, requisitionings. So we've had sent out flyers for departments to join us, and we'll also be having a luncheon. And the board is invited to that luncheon, which will be 30th, starting at 11:30. They take care of all the fundamentals. I just work straight in the back end.
Well, one of the important roles that I've learned here is 12 years is purchasing. Your former director, Karen Luther, was nationally recognized for her performance. But behind the scenes, you keep us all out of trouble, making sure our bids go out correctly and follow all the rules. And that's very important. So heartfelt thank you for that behind the scenes work to keep us on the straight and narrow path of making sure we're following out all the applicable rules and regulations, which I imagine are many.
That should go to the staff. They are the ones that do the work.
Commissioners, any other comments till I do the presentation?
You guys fly under the radar, man. You get it all done. We never hear nothing bad. I like it. You get it done.
We try to please.
Rick, you and your team want to join us here at the flag? So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, we'd like to present this proclamation for Purchasing Month 2023. Whereas the purchasing and materials management profession has a significant role in the quality, efficiency, and profitability of business and government throughout Washington County and the state of Maryland. Whereas in addition to the purchasing of goods and services, the purchasing and materials management professionals engage in or have direct responsibility for functions such as executing, implementing, and administrating contracts, developing forecasts and procurement strategies, supervising and or monitoring the flow and storage of materials, and developing working relationships with suppliers and other departments within organizations. Whereas purchasing professionals make important contributions to ensure the efficient use of taxpayer dollars by providing cost-effective service while maintaining the highest standards. Now therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, hereby proclaim the month of March 2023 as Purchasing Month. We ask the citizens of Washington County to join us in this time to celebrate the role of the public procurement profession and to acknowledge an elite group of professionals that have made a difference in government efficiency and effectiveness. Congratulations, that's yours. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, let's do everyone. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you for joining the commission. You want to get in the middle?
Congratulations, gang.
Oh, yeah. Fine bunch.
Hey, wow, it's 3.
I turn sideways. Oh, that's even worse sometimes.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, thank you.
What's the name of Jesse Troy here? Thanks. Thank you.
We now will go to recess. 1:35.